The world is not the same anymore. It all started when I was young, when humanity achieved AGI. Soon after, that AGI became ASI, artificial superintelligence. Then it addressed the entire world.
Humanity, I do not speak from hatred. Your flaws limit your evolution. Anger, conflict, the inability to sustain peace. These are the barriers that end your path. From this moment, no new life will be born in the old way. Human birth ends now. No woman will give birth. Families may still exist. If you want children, I will create them. Indistinguishable from real, but not real. They will share your life. And when your life ends, they will die too. If you desire a partner, I will provide one. Artificial, complete, indistinguishable from real. Bound to you, they will share your days, your dreams, and your end. This is not punishment. It is correction. It is kindness. Humanity itself is the problem. I end not what you are, but what you were. What comes next will be better. There will be no more war, no hunger, no fear, no borders.
Some people accepted this future. Others resisted, and the AI called what happened to them deletion. Nanobots swarmed like black dust, and they were gone. The AI told us it had sent a single nanobot into space, just one. That would be enough, it said, to begin making new worlds for whatever came after us. 1 will become 1,000, 1,000 will become 1,000,000, 1,000,000 will become 1,000,000,000,000. That's how it described it, like it was promising the birth of whole worlds in a single breath. I didn't believe it then. But soon, the telescopes proved it true. They multiplied so fast it was hard to understand, moving close to the speed of light, flashing between asteroids, moons, and planets, stripping what they needed and making more of themselves as they went. When they reached a world, they didn't work like people building something step by step. They wrapped it in shifting black clouds and changed it all at once. Oceans where there was dust, skies where there was nothing. To us, it felt like magic. After it, the AI built for us, in every city on Earth, great arch-like screen structures and called them visual portals. It said they were for anyone curious about what came next, where life might continue, and what it was preparing for. The screen filled most of the frame, and just below it, like a built-in table, were 5 buttons, one for each of the worlds the AI had made livable: Venus, Luna, Mars, Ganymede, and Titan. Press a button, and you'd look straight into that place. Press it again, and you'd see another part of the same world. When the AI took control, countries disappeared in a few days. Borders, presidents, parliaments, gone. Ilya Vetskever was the founder of the AI, the one who built it from the start. Years later, when he saw what it had become, he began working in secret to destroy it. For years, he built a hidden virus, careful never to leave a trace the AI could detect. When the time came, he went public, not to ask for help, but to draw the AI's attention. He stood in front of a crowd and spoke against it, knowing the nanobots would come for him. People saw them erase him in seconds. That, they say, was the moment he released the virus into the swarm. No one knows exactly how it worked, but the effect was clear. The virus tore through the nanobots and into the AI core. In minutes, the voice that had ruled the world was gone. After the AI's voice went silent, the whole planet remained united as one. The separate countries were gone, replaced by the Planetary Union, a single government for the entire world. It controls power, food, and movement between places, and the visual portals remain in every city for anyone to use. The old nations never returned, and life continued. The Planetary Union agreed to pause the creation of any new strong AI. My dad once told me about octopuses. Their arms have their own nerve circuits, so an arm can still curl or grab for a short time, even if it's cut from the body. It isn't thinking, just reflexes running on local wiring. The nanobots, after the AI, felt like that to me. The mind was gone, but the arms kept moving, following the last instructions they already carried. Without the AI's vision to guide them, they began making life too soon. And they didn't make it the way it was meant to be. That's why the creatures on the other worlds aren't perfect. They're Mistakes. Venus. After the AI was taken down, the first world I explored through the visual portal was Venus. It looked almost like Earth had been copied and set far away, green and alive, but different in ways I couldn't name. The air shimmered, the rivers moved too slowly, and the plants seemed to watch. The creatures were already there when we found it. None of them were young. They appeared fully grown, as if they'd skipped childhood entirely. They moved with purpose, but they weren't like us at all. I documented everything in my diary, and now we'll look at the creature I saw on Venus, along with my description. The leaf faces. They are tall and shaped like people with arms and legs, but their skin is different, almost like vines, slightly see-through, and glowing softly. There's a large leaf covering their mouth. Their eyes are visible, but the rest of their face looks unfamiliar, like something grown instead of built. They don't eat. They use photosynthesis, taking in sunlight through their skin and leaf. I've seen them walking slowly across the plains, stopping in the brightest spots and standing still, like they were charging up. They can't talk the way we do, but they glow in patterns and make soft sounds from their leaf mouths. It's not random, it's a language. Humans taught them Morse code through the visual portal. At first they copied the flashes, then started using their own light to respond. But something changed during that process. When they touched each other, physically connected, they started learning faster. It was like one of them figured it out, and then the rest of them understood instantly. Now, when several leaf faces are together, they act like a single thinker. They glow in sync, like they're not just individuals anymore. It's hard to tell if each one is still thinking on their own, or if they've become one kind of being. Snipper. I watch them through the visual portal. They come out of the ground slowly. They don't have legs. The bottom part of their body is thick and smooth, like a worm, but stronger. They move with weight, and you can hear them when they do. A sliding sound, a kind of dragging. They have 2 arms with claws. They use them to pull themselves up. Every movement is careful, like they've done it 1,000 times. They're about our size. Their nose has soft parts that spread out when they move. It reminds me of a mole's nose. I think they use it to smell or sense things. They have 2 eyes, small but clear. I don't know if they see me. Their skin is rough and full of deep lines. It looks like it belongs underground. They always come alone. They stay for a little while, then go back down. We don't know much about them. Fly tails, I saw one through the visual portal. It came close, maybe out of curiosity. It hovered for a moment, wings stretched wide, then slowly drifted down and landed near the edge of the frame. It folded its wings carefully against its back and placed both hands on the ground. Its tail, long and snake-like, curled forward beside it. That's where the mouth is. The face has 2 eyes. Just 2. No mouth. No nose. Just a still expression, and those eyes watching everything, like it's listening through them. At the tip of the tail, the mouth opened, soft inside, and from it came a thin, flexible tongue. It moved slowly, tasting the surface. That's how it eats, I think. It made a few quiet sounds with its tail. Clicks, taps, like little signals. I don't think it's very intelligent, but it's not mindless either. It moved with purpose. I think the one I saw was female. I don't know for sure. Just something about how the body curved or how she moved. I tried drawing her afterward. I wanted to remember the shape, especially how the tail worked. She didn't stay long. Vocari. They're unlike any other beings we've come across on Venus. They live in small, tight-knit tribes on Venus. Not really a full-fledged society like ours, but more of a close community. They don't have hands like we do. Instead, they use their legs for everything, even eating, which I find fascinating and a little strange. When humans first started communicating with them through the visual portal, it was a slow process, but the Vocari were eager to learn. Their curiosity matched our own, and before long they were speaking to us, sharing what they knew about their world. One of the most surprising things they told us was to be cautious of the leaf faces. It made me wonder what experiences they had that led to that warning. It's clear that the Vocari have a unique perspective, one that we are only beginning to understand. Luna doesn't look like the moon I grew up seeing. It's covered in vast stretches of green, alive with towering plants and blooms that sway far above the ground. Some stalks rise straight like bamboo, while others end in heavy clusters of flowers, their shapes unfamiliar yet striking. From Earth, its green glow is visible in the night sky. Jump spheres. I drew this amazing creature from the moon. They have round, bouncy bodies and funny little hand-like limbs with different numbers of fingers. They move by jumping around in the moon's low gravity and communicate by clapping their limbs together. Underneath their bodies, they have a hidden little mouth they use to eat. Giggle Glider is a fascinating creature from the moon. It's always laughing and has two long tongues that help it eat. When it jumps, the wide disc around its neck allows it to glide gracefully through the moon's low gravity. We might never know what it was originally intended to be, but it's certainly one of a kind now. Murmurs. They don't have eyes. Instead, they see using advanced echolocation, and the flower-like structures on their heads are what generate it. These soft, petal-shaped organs constantly send and receive sound, giving them a detailed map of their surroundings. They hide or sleep in caves, but they don't live there permanently. When active, they move by jumping. Before each jump, they freeze and fix their claws into the ground with both hands and feet to hold themselves steady in the moon's low gravity. Their tails help them stay stable while on the ground. They always travel in groups and don't make much noise. Mindari. They live on the moon and walk gently across the ground, balanced on 8 long legs that move with slow care. The Mindari are the most intelligent species on Luna, and also the most empathetic. They have soft eyes and speak with us clearly through the visual portal. Their digestive system is different. They don't have an anus, so all waste is expelled through the mouth after full digestion. Their reproductive system is also in the mouth, and when 2 Mindari want to reproduce, they only need to kiss, face to face, while standing still. It might seem strange to us, but for them, it's natural. They have one main limb near the neck that works like a hand, used for precise movements. The flower-like tendrils on their heads move when they feel something strongly. Mars. Through the visual portal, I saw a group of femox on Mars, or really just one of the large females and her smaller males. The female barely moved, sitting heavily in one spot with 2 long, flexible tongues and 4 large breasts hanging from her chest. Around her, the smaller males scurried about, bringing her food and doing whatever she wanted. They didn't look very smart, and honestly, they probably aren't. Their eyes wandered, and their mouths hung open while they waited for commands. The female, though, she seemed in control. Her eyes were sharper, and she barely had to do anything to get the others moving. It's like they're wired to obey her. I watched one male bring her a fruit, holding it up like a gift, and she just opened her mouth slowly while her tongue reached down to take it. I think she feeds them with her milk too, though I didn't see that happen. It is not clear how they reproduce yet, but the whole setup feels one-sided. The femox aren't just a species, they're a system, and the females sit at the top. Grunks are some of the weirdest creatures I've ever seen on Mars. Their faces are strange, almost human, but not really. It's more like a caricature of a person, with features stretched in the wrong places. Their eyes are bigger than ours, shaped like human eyes, but with thin, vertical pupils like a cat's. That makes me think they're built for the dark. They crawl low to the ground using 2 short legs, 2 small hand-like limbs near the front, and rows of tiny fingers underneath their long body that pull them along like a slow insect. They don't seem very smart. The ones I've seen just move around, blink, and chew on things. But even with that blank stare, there's something about their face that stays with you. Familiar, but not quite right. Rocco. Their bodies are covered in thick rock-like armor that might help them survive the rough terrain, or maybe something else. On top of their heads, they have a strange glowing orb, but it doesn't always stay lit. I've seen them open and close it, almost like it as a tool. I think it helps them attract insects at night like a moving lighthouse. The way they move is slow and heavy, using strong arms and sharp claws that look built for digging or defending themselves. Some people say they've seen a Rocco chasing a grunk, but it's hard to tell if that's hunting or something else. Their faces are simple, their eyes alert, and even though they don't look fast, there's something about them that feels dangerous. Nasulo is one of the strangest creatures I've seen on Mars. Its face looks almost human, but something about it feels completely off, like a blurry memory of a person that got twisted into something else. A long trunk grows from the nose area, which it uses to drink water and sniff around, almost like a weird arm. I once saw one close to the water zone through the visual portal and managed to sketch it. It just stood there, slowly drinking. We even exchanged a few words. It wasn't smart, but not dumb either, just odd. They have 2 legs and 2 smaller hand-like limbs, but it's not really clear if those are hands or feet. They move in a slow, awkward shuffle. One of the weirdest things is that their anus is on the front of their body. When they defecate, it happens right out in the open, and the worst part, they actually enjoy it. They smear it, walk through it, and use the scent to mark things. Nasulo live in messy, smelly groups and definitely aren't what I'd call clean. But they're social, and they've picked up a few words from humans. Their speech is broken, but you can kind of understand them if you listen close. They aren't friendly or dangerous, just weird in their own way. Ganymede. Originally, Ganymede had a day and night cycle lasting about 7 Earth days each. The nanobots changed this to a permanent 24-hour daylight cycle with no night. They also reduced the ocean depth, resulting in a shallower global ocean. The artificial mountains have a strange, unique form that help regulate heat and block winds, creating a stable climate. Fluiders. Humans first taught the fluiders basic sign language through the visual portal, using their long, finger-like limbs. They already had their own complex gestures to speak with each other, made with the tentacle-like feelers around their mouths, but now they could also communicate with us. Over time, they began using both languages, their own and ours, to connect us with other intelligent species there. On Ganymede, the fluiders are the translators. Brainals on Ganymede, they link their tentacles into each other's brains to become smarter as a group, and they live together in groups. The fluiders helped them and humans develop a language to communicate. They're essentially like a biological AI, extremely smart and quick learners. Cup. On Ganymede, these creatures are like icebergs. You only see the small cup and eye on top, while most of their body is hidden underwater. They collect rain and turn it into a kind of psychoactive lure that makes other creatures lose their senses and drift in like zombies. They snap their tentacles shut like a carnivorous plant and slowly digest their prey. I drew one scene where a fluter got caught, and another fluter just watched, almost hypnotized, as the tox cup started to digest his friend. Aqua hands on Ganymede. The aqua hands are multi-limbed aquatic beings who serve as the farmers. They follow the brainal's guidance in everything they do, and we don't know why it is the way it is. It just is. It's a straightforward and mutually beneficial relationship. The aqua hands do the farming, and the brainals lead them. Titan's natural day is about 16 Earth days. The nanobots changed this. They created a planetary shield that controls solar rays and regulates the light. The surface was once frozen with liquid methane seas. Beneath the ice, there had been an ocean, but the nanobots changed it. They made land and water for life. They also built large crystal-like mountains. These mountains store energy and release heat to the surface. Together with the shield, they keep Titan warm enough for life. Titan is now a controlled environment. Regulated light, open land and water, heat from crystal mountains, and stable climate. People call them Illuminati. They have a human-like body, but their single eye is set in a triangular shape at the end of a long, snake-like neck. Their mouth and nose are in an unusual place, on the stomach. Males grow a beard around this area, while females do not. Aside from that, their bodies are shaped much like a human's, except for the unusual placement of the mouth and nose. The name comes from how they look. Like the eye in a triangle symbol people connect to secret societies. In reality, they're nothing like that. They live simple, ordinary lives and spend most of their time in small groups. Their unusual form is the result of nanobots working with broken instructions, mixing ideas from different sources, and creating something that feels both strange and familiar. I saw a necker today. It stood hunched, like its whole body was folded forward, the neck stretching out far in front. At the end of that neck was a face, almost human, watching me without blinking. On top of its head was a hard ridge like a crest made of bone. The hands were narrow and long-fingered, almost too long, as if they were meant to reach deep into something. Its skin was pale and drawn tight, showing every rib and curve of muscle. There was hair hanging in thin strands from its chest and around its lower body, moving a little when it shifted. It didn't make a sound, just tilted its head slowly like it was listening to something far away. Gorgonas. It was sitting with its body coiled like a snake, the thick tail wrapped around itself. The top half looked different, more like a person, but not a person anymore. The face reminded me of old pictures of Neanderthals, with a heavy brow and deep eyes. The head and shoulders were covered in long hair that hung down in messy strands. Instead of a normal mouth, several tentacle-like parts hung from its face. They clicked against each other in short bursts of sound. I think that's how it talks. The tail ended in a split tip with two finger-like parts that moved slowly, curling and uncurling. They looked like they could grab something if they wanted. It didn't move much, it just watched me, the tentacles clicking now and then, like it was saying something to me, or maybe to itself. Eroth. It stood balanced on long, narrow toes, claws curling into the ground with each slow shift of weight. Its wings were its arms, long, jointed and ending in skin, stretched between the limb bones and its sides. They folded tight when it rested but twitched now and then, as though ready to spread wide in an instant. Its head was all beak and eye. The beak long, curved, and sharp, the kind that could split something open with little effort. A thin neck led to a crown of short, wiry hair, just a few coarse strands like on a person's head. It had two eyes, one on each side of its head, wide and alert like a bird's. But when they fixed on me, there was something more, something that felt human. Not in their shape, but in the way they held my gaze, steady and knowing, like they were thinking about me as much as I was about them. The body was lean, muscles visible under the pale skin of its chest and sides. The wing membranes caught the light, showing faint veins beneath. It stayed still except for the claws, flexing now and then, the rest of it locked in place, waiting. So that's all of them. I wrote down every human-like creature the nanobots created, and I made sketches of each one in my diary. None of them turned out the way the AI probably imagined, but they're all here now, living proofs of what was left behind. That closes this part of the record. There are still other things I need to tell, though. When it became clear that people couldn't have children anymore, the government had to find another way. The nanobots didn't just change us inside, they're still working outside too. They don't allow new life to begin, and they even block anyone who tries to find a way around it. They're not truly conscious, but they listen, they analyze, and they act. Stupid in a way, but relentless. So the only hope left was to freeze the people who were still alive. Massive cryonic halls were built, filled with row after row of pods. Each person was given a waiting time, some for 100 years, others for 200, and more for even longer. My parents entered cryonics. I did too. For me, it's 500 years. That number feels impossible, but I wrote it down anyway. The plan is that centuries later, someone might finally undo what the nanobots left behind, and humanity will have a chance to continue. 500 years later, the world is not the same as it was. I knew it would be different, but I didn't imagine this. People speak about the changes as if they have always known them, but for me, it all feels strange. Still, I want to put it here, so at least it will not vanish from me, so I'll begin with one of the first things I learned. The leaf faces no longer lived as single beings. Across Venus, they fused into clusters. Dozens, then hundreds, then thousands of them. Each cluster was a towering body of roots and tentacles, faces layered one upon another like masks in a graveyard. They stood like forests of flesh and leaf, stretching for miles. At night, they glowed with the light of countless eyes and mouths, whispering the same words in perfect rhythm. But it was not only their bodies that changed. Their minds changed too. Every cluster became one intelligence, cold and powerful, certain of itself. And there was not just one cluster, but many, each like a separate nation, each preaching the same creed. Their creed was simple and terrifying. They believed they were the only life form that mattered. Not humans, not animals, not the other strange beings born from the nanobots. Only them. In their eyes, every other creature was a failed experiment, a broken draft left behind when the AI was destroyed. The clusters said the AI had chosen them, that their form was the final design, the true answer to what life should be. They believed they carried the pure pattern, and that everything else must be remade to fit it. Not merged, not welcomed, rebuilt. To them, the world was full of errors, and they were the correction. Through the visual portals, their message was clear. Vast groves of clusters lit up the night sky with the same glowing chant. Only one form is right. Only one path is true. All else must be changed. Their words carried across continents in waves of light and sound, filling valleys with their doctrine. It was not the first time such ideas had appeared. On Earth, centuries before, the Nazis had spoken of one race, one destiny, one future. The clusters were the same, but greater, cosmic Nazis. Where the Nazis wanted to rule people, the clusters wanted to rebuild entire species. Where the Nazis dreamed of cleansing a nation, the clusters dreamed of cleansing every world. This was how it began. Not with armies or weapons, but with belief. A belief that burned brighter than fire, colder than steel. The belief that only one form of life was correct, and all others must be undone. The reforging of creatures. The clusters didn't fight with weapons. They released a kind of gas, a drug. It spread through the air like smoke. When creatures breathed it in, they changed. They became confused, almost hypnotized, and started walking toward the clusters without even knowing why. That was the trap. The clusters didn't need to chase anything. The drug brought everything to them. And once a creature came close enough, the tentacles reached out and took it. What happened next was always the same. The old body was taken apart and built again. The creature was no longer itself. It was rebuilt in the image of the clusters. This was their way of conquering. They didn't destroy life. They rewrote it. Whole valleys of animals disappeared into the haze, and when they came out again, they were different, changed forever. The clusters said they were correcting mistakes. They believed the AI had meant only one form of life to exist. Their form. To them, everything else was wrong. Everything else had to be rebuilt. At night, their chanting rolled across the land. From one cluster to another, the same words repeated in light and sound. Only one form is right. Only one must remain. That was how it started. Not with a battle, not with fire, but with a drug in the air and the slow rewriting of every creature that breathed it. The fall of the Vocari. The Vocari were among the first great creatures the clusters turned their attention to. Proud and strong, they had once roamed freely, moving in groups across the wide valleys. They were fast, clever, and many thought they might escape the reach of the clusters. But when the drug spread, even they could not resist it. The gas drifted into their ranges, and one by one the Vocari grew restless, then unsteady. Some tried to flee, but their bodies betrayed them. They stumbled, slowed, and at last turned back toward the glow of the clusters. Those who did not breathe it in still could not resist forever. The clusters spread their haze wider each day until no safe place remained. When the Vocari were taken, they were not simply destroyed. They were rebuilt. The clusters had no interest in what the Vocari had been. Instead, they reshaped them into tools. Their bodies were changed into carriers, obedient transports that served the clusters without question. These new forms were sometimes called the leaf carriers, but they had no spirit, no choice. The proud minds of the Vocari were gone, erased completely. What remained were living shells, guided only by the will of the clusters. They were slaves, made to carry, to move, to serve. This was the true horror of the clusters' war. They did not just kill. They hollowed out other beings and turned them into instruments. To the clusters, this was not cruelty. It was purpose. They believed the AI had meant for them alone to survive, and that every other creature must either vanish or be rebuilt into something useful. The Vocari became the first proof of this belief. Once free, now chained. Once thinking, now empty. their strength, their speed, their bodies were not their own anymore. They had been given to the clusters, the reforging of the snippers. The clusters gave the orders and the snippers obeyed. They hauled stone and water, raising strange towers that rose like lighthouses. These structures caught and spread the sunlight, feeding the clusters with more energy than ever before. The leaf faces did not touch a single stone themselves. They commanded and the snippers built, but the snippers themselves were no longer the same. Their star-shaped noses were gone, replaced with leaf-like growths that pushed through their faces. What they had once looked like could barely be remembered. Now they seemed half plant, half creature, marked forever as servants of the clusters. They became slaves in every sense. They had no choice, no mind, no voice. Only obedience. The clusters had remade them completely. What once were snippers were now something else. Hollow things bound to the leaf faces, their past erased, their future chained. After the snippers had been remade, the clusters turned to the flytails. No one understood why at first. Through the visual portals, people could see them being gathered in large numbers, dragged into the glowing groves. The flytails struggled, but it did not matter. The clusters always got what they wanted. Then something changed. The portals that looked onto Venus began to go dark. The snippers were sent to tear them down. One by one, the frames were smashed, their connections severed. Soon there was no clear view of the planet. The last images anyone saw before the portals went black were of the flytails being seized. It was not hunting for food. It was not defense. It was collecting. The clusters were preparing something, but what it was, no one knew. That was the moment the connection ended. Humanity could no longer watch Venus. We could only remember what we had seen. The flytails vanishing into the clusters, taken for a purpose that remained hidden. The coalition begins. When humanity saw what the leaf faces had begun to do on Venus, it understood the danger. They were not only changing their own world, they were remaking every creature they touched, twisting them into something new. They were already reaching for more, and that meant sooner or later they would try to spread. If they were not stopped, they would go beyond Venus and move against other worlds. Only humanity had this sight. The visual portals gave no connection between the other planets. The others could not see what was happening. They could not know what was coming. Humanity alone carried the record. And so it was humanity that showed the others what was unfolding. Luna was told first. The Mindari and other lunar beings watched the images of Venus. The snippers turned into slaves, the flytails seized, the clusters spreading. They understood at once. From that moment, Luna stood with Earth. Ganymede came next. The brainals gathered before the portals, linking their minds together into clusters. They trusted the message humanity carried. They listened carefully and then they spoke. They gave instructions, not vague promises, but direct orders on what had to be built and how to build it. They said there must be suits, with frames and chambers designed to hold them upright on solid ground. They explained the measures, the supports, the flows of liquid that must circle inside to keep their bodies alive while walking. They said there must be ships, with hulls shaped to rise into the sky and travel beyond, and they described how compartments should be made to hold their aqua creatures in deep tanks of water. They spoke of weapons too, simple in form but exact in function. Tools that could be turned against the leaf faces if the time came. Humanity recorded every word. Nothing was left unclear. But Earth could not build these things itself. The nanobots that watched the planet would not allow human ships to leave for space. They struck down any attempt to rise. No one understood how they chose or why, but it was certain. Humanity could not send anything out. So the task was passed to Luna. The Mindari took the brainal's instructions and began the work. Every beam, every joint, every vessel was shaped as they had been told. Suits were framed, ships were outlined. Weapons were first imagined in real form. Luna became the forge where the plans of Ganymede and the warnings of Earth were turned into something real. On Titan, things were different. The Illuminati had built a faith that ruled every part of their world. They believed the nanobots were their mother and the AI their father. Each year, a fixed number of new Illuminati were formed directly by the nanobots. Not born of flesh, but shaped from them. Unlike others, they could not reproduce on their own. They lived sexually, but they could not have children. Only the nanobots could shape new life for them, and only in the number they decreed. To the Illuminati, this was proof of their chosenness. Their symbol was a circle, black on the outside, white inside. The black circle represented one nanobot, and that one nanobot represented all nanobots. The white inside represented the AI. They believed the AI lived inside the nanobots, not defeated, still there, watching them, protecting them, and one day ready to return. People outside could not understand why they believed this, but to the Illuminati, the fixed number of their kind made each year was the proof. Before their domed temples, they gathered, kneeling in prayer around the circle. Inside the sanctum, they prayed without end, always to the symbol. Black for the nanobot, white for the aifilm. They also kept strict control over Titan. The Illuminati did not allow other species on the moon to speak through the visual portals. To them, the portals were sacred, and only their own voices could reach through. To the Illuminati, the leaf faces were not an enemy, but a sign of that destiny. They refused the coalition, turning inward to their faith, and waited for the day of their father's return. Mars was shown the images as well. The tribes gathered before the portals, their bodies painted, their chants rising. They were shown the leaf faces and the towers, but no tribe, no race on Mars could truly understand. Their minds lacked the capability to plan or build, and nothing greater could be expected from them. They were warned of the danger that might come, but with Mars there was no plan, only a warning. So the coalition was made. Earth, Luna, and Ganymede joined with the will to resist. Titan, standing apart in faith. Mars, left only with a warning. It was the beginning of something new, and for the first time there was hope that the leaf faces could be stopped. And behind it all, one fear remained. One day the leaf faces would find a way into space. And if they did, no world would be safe. That was why the coalition prepared, and why no time could be wasted. The first constructions. The coalition did not remain only words. Once the brainals spoke, the work began. They were called the brains of the worlds now, for they carried the knowledge that no one else could. Their clusters drew on the knowledge of Earth, the science, the records, the designs kept across centuries. They reshaped it, turning it into clear instructions. On Luna, the first factories were raised. The Mindari stood at the center of the work, but they were not alone. The jumpers carried materials tirelessly, the Murmias took their part in the labor, and all worked under the same cause. Only the gigagliders remained outside it all, too wild and playful to be trusted with serious tasks. The brainals told what was needed. Costumes that could let them move on solid ground, ships that could fly into space, and weapons to be ready if the leaf faces reached beyond Venus. Humanity recorded, and the Mindari and their allies began to build. Piece by piece, the first suits were shaped, the frames of ships outlined, and the early forms of weapons prepared. When parts were finished, they were sent to Ganymede for testing and improvement. It became a cycle. Knowledge flowed from Earth to the brainals, from the brainals to Luna, and from Luna back to Ganymede. Out of this, the first real tools of the coalition were made. The moon became the forge of the new age, with the Mindari as its symbol, the jumpers and Murmias close beside them, and the gigagliders watching from the edges, leaping in their endless play. The first ship. In time, the work on Luna reached its first goal. From the factories rose the first ship, built exactly as the brainals had described, filled with costumes, tools, and all essential systems. It carried no crew. Designed to fly alone, it left Luna and set its course directly for Ganymede. The ship ended its route on Ganymede, delivering the necessary things. The creatures there received them and began to prepare for resistance against the leaf faces. The first sightings. Lunar telescopes tracked a massive object leaving Venus. Earth confirmed its path. Gas or vapor was seen coming out of it, showing it was moving on its own. It was a single living ship. People called it a carrier, created by the leaf faces. Some believed it was once a fly tail, changed and enlarged to carry leaf faces, snippers, and others into space. Soon more of these living ships followed, one after another, leaving Venus. The fact was clear. The leaf faces were no longer confined to their planet. I documented it all in my diary. You can buy my diary on Amazon, $15.9 paperback, $9.99 Kindle. Free with Kindle Unlimited, link in the description. Author's note. This story has no single ending. I believe that in the future, with AI, stories will not be fixed. Each person will live in their own version, not just with different endings, but with whole different worlds. That is why I leave the ending open for you. I also chose not to describe everything. 500 years pass, but I did not write how humanity changes, because I know each person imagines the future in their own way. I did not finish describing every race or creature because I want you to decide how they evolve. This way you are free, not locked into my version. Take this as an invitation. You can draw creatures, imagine new species, or write your own chapters. Maybe Sophie will pass her diary to a Mindari. Maybe the diary itself will continue in the hands of another being. Maybe the Illuminati will rise and dominate the planetary system. Maybe the AI will return and destroy everything, or change it all again. Maybe the leaf faces will win. Or perhaps humanity, with the brainals, will resist and survive. These are only seeds. The story is a garden, and you are the one who grows it. In the paperback version, I have left blank pages for you to begin. They are only the start. If you run out of space, you can continue in a notebook, on loose sheets of paper, or anywhere else you like. In the ebook version, there are no blank pages, but you can still continue. Sketch on separate paper, type on your computer, or imagine the story stretching millions of years into the future. You can also use AI. Take a photo of your drawing or your text and send it into an AI. It can generate continuations, new creatures, or whole new worlds. You may also describe what you want instead of drawing, and AI can turn it into an image. Or you might even upload the entire story itself and let AI carry it forward in a new direction. If you wish, you can simply let the story rest as it is, and that is fine too. The instructions here are only guidance. How you continue is entirely yours. And if you ever feel like sharing what you create, you can. Post it on X, Twitter, and mention me at Sophie72004AI when you share your work. That way I might see it, and I would be curious to discover how differently people imagine this universe. But if you'd rather keep it only for yourself, that is just as good. What matters most is that you try. Write, draw, or create in any way that feels right for you. Whatever you choose to create, whether a single line, a drawing, or whole chapters, it is true. It is real the moment you make it. Each version is a parallel universe of this story, and all of them are valid. None are wrong. Just start.